Hey, hello everyone. Welcome to another episode of speaking to some of the best global marketing leaders. And I'm again streaming in from New York. Firstly, love to introduce the guest on the show today. It's awesome to have Tina Eskridge. Tina is right now the founder CEO of Hackerbat. Uh, Before this, until last year, Tina spent almost 12 plus years at Microsoft, where in her last role, she was the head of digital marketing for Microsoft's ad business. So I think Tina has had like a career in marketing all throughout, seen an era from the 90s to the AI era of marketing. I should say the dinosaur era to the AI era of marketing. But Tina, so good to be having you here.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
No, awesome. I think diving right in, would love to know a bit more about yourself. I know just before we got rolling on the show, you told me about how you spent time at different places across the states, but everything from your personal journey of where were you born, where do you grow up, how do you land up in marketing. No one thinks of becoming a digital marketer. I'm pretty sure that didn't exist earlier. So how did you end up in digital marketing and now onto the entrepreneurial journey, right? And also your investing journey. So love to know more about Tina as a person that we're on.
Sure. I'll try my best to be succinct, but long story short, I was born in Cleveland, Ohio, a little town called Cleveland, if you've heard of it.
Yeah.
And I like to say that I
I know
was.
Cleveland because of Cleveland Clinic.
Oh, do you?
Yeah,
Okay,
that's the
okay.
reason I know
Yeah,
it. Yeah,
it's
so
a very large
very
institution.
famous.
Yeah, it's a very large institution in Cleveland, so that's good. But yeah, I grew up in Cleveland. I like to say I was raised in Washington, D.C. because I moved to Washington, D.C. at an early stage in my career journey. And I love that city. I stayed there for almost 14, 15 years. And it was pretty pivotal in my growth, I'd say. But aside from that, I started, you asked me how I got to marketing per se. I started my journey in college as a radio, TV, film major, and then somehow ended up changing my major to business, mainly to marketing. And then I took a supply chain course as an elective and fell in love with supply chain. So that led me to dual majors in marketing and supply chain. And I started my career journey in fashion retail, doing kind of a little bit of both. And I had the good fortune of launching into software, to software in the early '90s, with a supply chain software company. And so goes the story that kind of created my love for tech, and also took me on this trajectory that eventually led me into working for consumer goods, finance, education, and then back to tech at Microsoft, as you mentioned, for about 12 years, culminating with me departing in 2023 and starting this journey of my own with Hackerbat.
Awesome, man. I think let's quickly start with the Hackerbat journey, right? And I think because I have a set of questions for you for the Microsoft journey as well. That was very enriching journey for you, right? But what does Hackerbat do? How do you land up building Hackerbat after spending a career in marketing for almost 2 decades, right? How do you choose on building a company? How was the decision like? I mean, usually I've seen marketers when you left the full time role at Microsoft is people generally would want to move up the ladders to becoming a CMO somewhere, and probably eventually grow up the ladders to the board side of things, right? Usually that's how I see most marketers. Or these days the cooler stuff on being the fractional CMO stuff that's happening around. But how do you choose this entrepreneurial path, and what did you end up doing? So what does Acrobat do, and how did you choose up building it?
Sure. I think entrepreneurship more or less chose me, just to start. But Hackerbat is really a firm that I created to help companies, that are usually smaller or mid-sized companies that are struggling with either growth, or needs some sort of product strategy, marketing, market intelligence, all of those things. And so we pride ourselves on coming in and helping people to reach that pivot. You know, there's this essential pivot. Sometimes people plateau or they feel like they can't get to the next level with their companies, and so we kind of help them with that tipping point and creating that growth engine. And so I'm really proud of that. But to answer your question around
You're basically
um,
building businesses for them, effectively
yeah.
growth engines for them.
Yeah, or improving upon businesses that are outstanding, right? Many of the you wouldn't most of these businesses they wouldn't go into business if they didn't have incredible ideas, right? Or incredible products or services. It's just a matter of helping them to, as an outsider, see things that they may not, always see because they're in it day to day. And so we come in and help them do that and meet that challenge. And so to answer your question about, how did I get here? I think for me, as I said, entrepreneurship kind of chose me. I wasn't looking for it when I left Microsoft. As you mentioned, I think I thought the next natural step would be to lead another large marketing organization, probably in tech, maybe at a startup, and who knows, that still may be part of my journey in the future. But for now, I've been asked enough by leaders that know me and know my work to come into some of these companies and help them, either regain their footing or again, create a new growth trajectory that they hadn't thought of. So I work on projects right now that are pretty unique and interesting. That I love, right? Like helping people monetize, uh, you know, uh, services that they didn't know that they could offer, or helping with, digital marketing strategy. I like to do really, really unique problems and challenges that kind of mirror, what I've done in my career journey.
Very cool. And I think would just also love to understand generally, okay, in your experience of having worked with companies at Acrobat, right? I
Mm-hmm.
mean, with whatever last 1.5 years or that you've been building this company up,
Mm-hmm.
what has been usually the major points? Because I just see like, see, there was an entire era for the last 1 decade where all the VC and P backed companies came in and they become super, super, super hungry for growth,
Mm-hmm.
and they kind of broke all the barriers, including kind of burning a ton of money
Yeah.
to just kind of buy that growth out, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then there is an era of these companies who have been consistently growing, maybe at a much smaller speed or acceleration that we're on, but have been there for a while, have built decently good sized businesses.
Mm-hmm.
They might not even be digitally native. Like I recently met a company that just makes door handles. Do you know what the revenue of that company was?
What is it?
It was a couple of $1 billion.
Wow.
And I had never heard the name of the company at all.
Yeah.
They were somewhere in Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
So no clue about what they do, nothing. I had no
Yeah.
idea. I like couple of $1 billion. I was like, oh
Off of door
wow.
handles.
And just out of door
I
handles.
think you and I chose the wrong profession.
I believe that too. But I want to ask you about what has been the major reason
Mm-hmm.
for these companies stalling their growth, and like how do you attribute that? Because a lot of people watching this might not be in the sexiest of companies we all know
Yeah,
of,
yeah,
but like,
yeah.
but just love to hear from that.
Yeah, and the answer is it depends, right? It depends on the company, it depends on the market that they're in.
At least from a digital growth standpoint, generally, where do
Yeah,
you see? Because I just feel like companies are still undergoing digital transformation
yeah.
in that case, and so where do you see that?
So I'll give an example of a former client of mine that right right product, wrong execution.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So sometimes it's just the execution of the product. And by that, I mean, you know, they were really creating what we like to call snowflakes.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so if you're creating something that's so unique every single time, you are not able to scale. Right. Typically, yes, you may be meeting one customer's need, but you can't meet another customer's need, right? And that's not to say that all customers are alike or have, but there's some intrinsic value that each customer is looking for that should be your baseline. And so with that particular client, we found that one, they weren't sure who their customer was anymore, right? Because they're all over the place, just building technology for the sake of building it just to meet the need of that one customer.
Yeah.
And what happens is, you'll find yourself somewhere down the road um, losing revenue because if one of those customers that you're building this one unique snowflake for drop off,
Yeah,
right,
you're gone.
then you're gone. You lose a bunch of your revenue in one blow,
Yeah.
right? And so helping them to kind of standardize and create a true SaaS product was kind of the mission of our work.
Got it. And I'd just also love to draw cues on the parallel side from your Microsoft journey, right? And then that's when I go deeper there, right? I think let's begin with the Microsoft journey and also understanding 12 years almost felt like four roles for you, if I'm not wrong.
Yes.
Almost like it's different roles every time. So it's like
It
you're
was,
switching
yeah.
jobs in some sense internally, right?
Yep.
How was that journey? Like when you started, what were you doing till when you ended what you're doing? You've done some good work on the inclusion side as well in your Microsoft journey, on the cloud for everyone piece in that case. So I love to understand more about that.
Sure. Yeah. My journey at Microsoft was interesting. I was reluctant to leave my family and friends on the East Coast to move to Seattle.
Yeah.
I didn't think I wanted
Also with someone who has lived like for 15 years in DC Baltimore area,
right.
you don't love the West Coast as much as you do.
No,
Like
I came to love it though. I do love Seattle and I miss
of course
a
10
lot
years
about
in
it.
Seattle, everyone loves
Yes,
Seattle.
yes, you love it, right? You have to if you're there for 10 years, but I was there for 10 years and I loved it. But when I went initially, the first role that I started in was leading IoT, which was at first Windows embedded, changed to the Internet of Things. And I had no idea what that was, believe it or not.
Yeah.
So I was recruited
IoT.
not because of my knowledge of IoT, but because I knew how to build a marketing pipeline, and we were I was leading a team globally that was doing go to market strategy for a bunch of OEM and device partners and distributors, and so it was a wonderful, wonderful learning experience and growth opportunity for me. One to lead globally and to work with companies all over the world and to learn the culture of doing business in different regions and so I really really enjoyed that and again did that for a number of years and then I had the great fortune of being able to pivot back to my supply chain roots. And so I mentioned that I have this dual background, uniquely in marketing and supply chain. And so I went into supply chain at Microsoft and led the device supply chain for North and Latin America for about three and a half years of that journey. And that taught me something completely different.
Just asking, what does supply chain in Microsoft look like?
Oh,
I mean,
it's
what does it
massive.
include? What does it
includes
include?
it includes so at that time my team was doing all of the forecasting for all of the physical products that we all
That's what I was
love.
saying. This is more for the
So
hardware bit, right?
yes, so think Surface and Surface pins and mouse and headphones
I love
and
those mouse.
Xboxes and physical games at the time. So you name it. So we were doing everything from forecasting for those products, forecasting the need for partners like, Best Buy and Target,
Yeah.
all the retail partners that we work with. And we were also doing category management, which is making sure the right inventory is in the right place at the right time, leading the S&OP process with those partners, and then doing strategic supply chain management, which is, kind of optimizing based on the different needs or the critical needs of different retailers and you're familiar with. So, it's not by happenstance that Amazon can deliver something within a couple of hours, right? They have to work with their partners to do something like that. So it was a really fun, again, different learning curve, different journey. And I love that as well. And then from there, as you mentioned, I had some experience leading inclusion on the inside of Microsoft. I led the Black ERG for the company for a couple of years, and learned a lot about, how the company thinks about DEI, and their commitment to it. And then I decided that I wanted to not do that from a DEI standpoint, but how do you take DEI and inclusion, more importantly, and apply it to product? And so that led me on this journey in the cloud space of leading inclusion, or cloud for everyone, for a couple of years, and then after that landed in the ad tech business, and so and that's where my journey culminated. So.
I have a question for you on the ad tech business though.
Mhm.
How does it feel to be a marketer on the side of a company that is actually selling to marketers?
Well,
It could play in your favor. It could also play not in your favor.
well, I think the thing that you have to remember as a marketer selling to other marketers is that you can't use yourself as the sample. You know, you have to remember
I
that.
sell to marketers. I can relate
Yeah,
to that. Yeah.
yeah, you don't use yourself. You always have to stay close to the customer and understand their needs, because that's always the most important thing. It's not what you would want, but
Yeah.
it's what they want.
Interesting. And I just also want to kind of get a sense from you on, see, usually when you work at organizations like Microsoft, the scale is huge.
Hmm.
You don't realize it until you're there, and you don't realize it after you've come out as well, that
Yeah.
that is like one small decision can make so much of rippling effect impact on everything you do
Sure.
in that case, right? I want to ask you about, you've had experience of working in mid-sized companies before Microsoft,
Yes.
then working at a larger company like Microsoft, and then
Yes.
starting a smaller company like your own, right?
Yep. Yep.
How is that scale definition looks like? And when you run system at scale, I think the biggest part is you got to run it like an engine. So
Yeah.
it's the right combination of process, people, products. That's how usual framework goes like, right? Could you share more insights on the part of enterprise scale? Because a lot of people watching this are people who might be in smaller companies,
Yeah.
are people who might be in, or people who might be in junior roles in larger companies, right? So
Yeah.
for a lot of them, what does that look like?
Yeah, yeah. I think so it's interesting because you're right. You don't realize the scale while you're in it. It's after you're out of it, you're like, wow, that's pretty huge. I think the thing that I've always found interesting is that um I've worked in startups. I work with startups now, and I've worked in these large environments. And I think the thing that I've always kept or kept with me is the entrepreneurial spirit, right? Even within big environments.
Startup.
Right, because Microsoft is a machine. So was Citigroup. So like all the companies I've ever worked for, they're
Yes.
big. They run like a machine, but the really, really good ones know how to keep that entrepreneurial spirit alive within the orgs, right? And so I've been fortunate enough to work in a lot of organizations inside of those big companies, like the ad tech business at Microsoft and others that keep the entrepreneurial spirit alive.
It's so cool. It's basically having the traits of an entrepreneur in larger setup, particularly, which is not always the case.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think people have that in a lot of places.
Yeah.
But I also want to ask you about, you've led larger teams almost in 14 different countries, is what I was reading about, right? How has the hiring process for you been like? Because I think right now the biggest challenge that people face with is finding the right people to do the job.
Yeah.
And I mean, one wrong hire is much more expensive than one right hire.
That is
Because that's like the opportunity cost of the time it has taken for you, the effort that have gone I mean, everything, right? You know that.
Mhm.
So what does that team infrastructure looks like for you, when you're kind of looking at the right traits of the people who are joining your team? One trait you of course mentioned is the entrepreneurial ability of starting it yourself or running it yourself. But what does that framework look like for you?
Yeah. I think for me, I'm always looking for people who are curious first and foremost.
And actually, let me also include this part in the question on, what do you not like? What are the turn-offs in that case? Because I think the biggest challenge is also understanding who not to hire than to who to hire.
Yeah.
Okay, so both of it.
Oh, goodness. Um, I'll have to think about the turnoff question a bit, because I think that one of the things that I love most about my career journey has been the people, right? I've encountered and worked with some incredible people that were
Yeah.
incredibly talented. In some cases even more than me. I know how to build a team, and I know how to spot people that are really, really good at their top talent, or either don't know that they're good at something, and I like to help bring that out of them. I'd say for me, being curious is number one. Um, being agile, because one of the things that is required, particularly when you're working in technology, is being nimble, right? You have to be able to do different things. There's no such thing. I don't really subscribe to a job description because it changes day by day, or it can change day by day. And so being willing to roll up your sleeves and do a lot of different things, that's always the trait that I'm looking for. And I also try to look for people that are not like myself, right? Like, I don't want to hire anybody that is like me, right? So if there was one thing I'd say turn off, I don't want anybody like me. I need somebody that challenges me or looks at things.
Compliments you.
Yeah, I want somebody that looks at things differently. So yeah, it depends.
That's a mistake a lot of people make. They try to find other people and they benchmark against themselves, say, hey, if I can do this, why can't this person do this?
Right. And I think that is an incredibly huge blind spot and bias, right? That can stunt your growth.
Yeah, I get the point. When I look at roles of marketing in larger organization, the role includes actually two different parts, right? One part is, of course, doing the job.
Mm-hmm.
The second part is convincing the organization to value what you're doing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that takes like a lot of convincing internally, because not everyone from top to the topmost, right, would understand exactly what you're doing, because again, they hired you because you're complementing their roles, right? What does that look? So I asked you earlier about you being the senior person and the subject being the people. Now I'm asking, if I were to ask you being the subject, what does convincing the senior people look like in organizations? That piece.
Oh my goodness, you have to have partners in leadership. I found that, one, being able to articulate and clearly communicate as if you were a fifth grader.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you have to be able to talk about things, especially working in technology, right? Because we use a lot of acronyms. There's a lot of unknowns for many people. I could use an acronym, for example, and you might think it's one thing and somebody might
Yeah,
think it's
yeah, yeah.
another. So being able to articulate at a very basic level, I think, is really key, but also having partnership. I found along the way in my career, marketing is probably one of the most the hardest to advocate for,
Yeah.
right? Because budgets are always cut. People are like, "Oh, why are you doing that fluff spend?" Or "Why are you doing this or doing that?" And I find that it's really critical that you be able to articulate value. I'm big on marketing analytics and ROI and OKRs and KPIs and all those things in marketing. But I also understand that there's a bit of experimentation that has to be done. And so taking people on a journey and learning storytelling is really, really important.
Yeah.
As is, like I said, partnering with others. So your CFO is crucial, right?
Super crucial. So you cannot double press on how important.
That's right. The CFO is very critical. I was in an interview at one point where the CFO told me, "Well, no marketers ever tried to involve me," and I'm like, "What?" Like, I mean, I see the CFO as always a major partner in anything that I do, whether I'm doing product marketing or integrated marketing, whatever. Like, that's really important. The other part of that is the engineering leader. If you're on a technology product, particularly,
Like,
your engineering leader you have to be lockstep.
and they wouldn't be as outward going as you are from marketing angle. I've not seen like most engineering leaders being like more introvert to the nature of work that they do. So it always includes you also trying to kind of complimenting them to get the best from
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. No matter what personality type or, whatever, like, it's just important that you collaborate with these leaders across the board. You get more done
You
that
already
way.
mentioned sales.
Yeah. Sales too. Sales too. Yes, your chief revenue officer, your sales leader, all very important. I mean, there's nobody that I don't think is important, to be honest. Like everybody is important, but I think having, collaborative discussions, relationships with those people will take you the furthest. And then, also having sometimes shared uh objectives
Yeah.
is really key too, to so that everybody has a stake, right? And making sure that everybody can move the needle along together.
And I just also want to ask you about this entire cusp of AI that we are in right now. See, you left Microsoft at the cusp of AI, I would say,
Yeah.
because that's when the AI thing was becoming more cooler. It just gone to market, right?
Yeah.
How are you looking at AI in marketing? Because I've realized this one big thing that AI is more like a means to an end, basically.
Yeah.
So people got to one understand about uh, not everyone needs AI always, right? It got to be like, and you need it definitely, but it cannot be in use unless it's a part of your regular workflows.
Yeah.
We do this a lot of dinners across the states, right? I mean, we get a bunch of marketers speak on this topic, and the biggest confession we get every time is, you know what? And we want to, but we don't know how to.
Yeah.
And when we want to use it, we don't know how to use, or we want to try, and we don't know how to try. And then it's more about, we think we can use it out of fascination, but how can this be a part of my regular workflows in general?
Yeah.
How have you seen that growth? Because see, Microsoft was a very, very technology forward company when you
Sure.
right, and it still is, right? Uh, and and now you're also being on the other side of the entrepreneurship journey where you know how it works in an organization, right? So how does that look like for you?
Yeah, I think AI for the sake of AI is not necessarily, the thing to do,
Yep.
right? As you mentioned, I think it's very purposeful. I think that, we've all seen the onset of it through machine learning and other, technological advances along the way.
Yeah, yeah.
It didn't just, it wasn't birthed overnight,
Yes,
right? It's
yes.
it's an evolution, right? And just like that evolution, I think the evolution of AI in marketing, um, you know, it really is about, how can you be intentional with the use of the technology, and not just, you know, replace uh people, if
Yeah.
you will. Like I think that's kind of been the biggest sideline about AI. You're right. Like everybody's been talking about replacing people, and sure you can do some of that, but for efficiency's sake. But I'm really interested in it and how it helps us to do what we do better, and not replacing someone or something, right?
Yeah.
And if you don't need it, then that's okay too, right?
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
I really want to be intentional about using it. I want the companies that I work with to be intentional about using it. And there's some great uses for it. Don't get me wrong. Like we haven't even scratched the surface. There's a lot of different ways in which AI can enhance either a business model, a product or service, what have you. But I do think we need to take a step back and not just throw it in the mix just because, it's the hot, cool, sexy thing right now. Yeah.
No, get it.
Yeah.
I also want to kind of ask you, right? I mean, given now you're on the cusp of doing this for other organizations. In the past, you've done it for the organizations you were working for, right? I mean, given you've seen both sides of the world, right? My question to you is, what are the blind spots in the marketing profession as a whole? Like when I say blind spots in the marketing profession, what do you think most people are doing it wrong most of the time? And those could mean everything from being extremely, because I can tell a lot of them, because now when I'm on the other side of table, you see a trend line to see so many marketers doing the same mistake again and again. Yeah. Those mistakes can range anywhere between over communication or any of the softer skills to any of the harder skills, right? I just love to seek opinions from you on that side.
That's such a broad question.
I know, but like I wanna actually ask you about your experiences.
Yeah. I would say, the number one mistake I've seen, and this goes for, both being in-house and then, doing this with my own company, is the theory of if you build it, they will come.
Okay.
I think I really, I mean,
Yeah.
I know that sounds absurd, but I do feel like, especially if you have a big brand name behind you, a lot of people think I can just build something and they will come, but
Yeah.
not understanding your ICP or ideal customer profile, not understanding the market itself, the market need, and just kind of generically creating just to create something is a big flaw, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes that's not the intention or the fault of the marketer. Sometimes, it's the product team that creates this product and you just have to go sell it, right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of different reasons why that happens. So it's no one fault of one person or one organization. But at the end of the day, if you build it, they will come, doesn't work, right? It doesn't. And it may work for a short amount of time. And to your point, you may see this trend line that goes up, but eventually you'll have to re-innovate, restructure the product, sometimes even eliminate it altogether and create something completely new and different. But you have to be prepared for that, right?
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think the question was broad, but I think you gave the answer right. I mean, I've understood what you said, right? You said about usually having that forecast of what, like, forecast and trust, I would say, on what you're going to do is going to reap benefits out of it. I think that is, most of the marketers are always in the loop. They're not able to think like 2 steps ahead and 2 steps back, both of it together. So generally that loop, I get.
And I'll add to that a little bit more on the core marketing side. I've seen organizations really rely more heavily on kind of coin operated marketing. So,
What is
for
that
example,
point?
so I'll say if I put enough money into this one channel, I know I'm going to get X results, and I'm going to continue to get X
ROI
like
focus.
right. Which is, there's nothing wrong with that,
Yeah.
but eventually, if you're not doing any sort of experimentation, if you're not allocating dollars or budget that can go towards experimentation, that channel's gonna die out eventually. Eventually. It may be great for a long, long time. Let's say it's, I don't know, uh, direct mail or whatever. I don't, or paid media, whatever channel that is.
I get why you say direct mail for
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Right. Just, yeah, direct mail. I'm aging myself, but you get what I'm saying. Like, for a long, long time, those channels can be really good and they can produce great results. And, your leadership will want more of that, right? Oh, but we gave you X dollars last year. You put it into this channel and you got us X number of qualified leads, let's say. But that doesn't always work forever. You have to do some experimentation. You have to do some testing. And sometimes that means in something that's not going to produce the results, you know?
I've seen a lot of marketers these days budgeting them their, like, writing their budget sheets in the way that they have like an X percentage of dollars for every channel built in for experimentation on that channel.
Mm-hmm.
And then they have a separate line item which is called the experimentation budget to organize new channels. So
Yeah.
I've seen that trend line changing a bit
And
recently.
that's great. If that's the case, that's great. But not all organizations
Have this
allow for that to happen, right? Because the growth, especially if you're, you're
they,
talking about
they call it
VC-backed.
controlled growth.
Exactly. Or if you're in a VC backed or private equity backed situation where you're looking for growth very quickly,
Yeah.
right? Sometimes that may not be possible.
Cool. I think this has been super helpful. Thanks for this, Tina. I think I'll move to the last part of the conversation where we kind of host a rapid fire round. I usually love this part where you got 5 seconds to answer every question that I ask you.
Okay.
What on the top of the mind? And it could go from like easy questions to difficult ones. I'm on. I'll start with the first one. You said you traveled the world after your journey at Microsoft. Best place you love?
Oh, the Maldives.
The Maldives?
It looks like, it looks like something off of a postcard. I mean, I've been to a lot of beautiful places, and the Maldives was by far like it just pristine and breathtaking. I loved it.
And a place that you didn't like too much?
Oh,
You expected, but it didn't fall on your expectations.
oh goodness, no place. I love every place I've been. I love to travel and I love to experience new cultures and new things. So yeah.
Okay.
It was
Comfort food?
comfort food for me. Probably pizza. Yeah.
You're not in New York, but
No, I'm not. That's probably why it's pizza. But I love a good New York slice for sure, particularly pepperoni.
maybe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. What's if not marketing, what would you be doing?
If not marketing, I'd probably be. Oh goodness, I'd probably be doing films. Yeah, that's what I started out. I started out this journey. I wanted to be behind the camera and either direct or produce or something like that. But yeah, I'd probably be doing films. I don't know in what capacity, but
Okay. Next one, right? Top 3 tabs that are always open on your computer,
ooh.
except for your Google, except for your email,
Oh, okay.
Microsoft Office.
Oh, top 3 tabs on my computer.
I hope you use Microsoft Office and not Google Suite anymore. But yeah.
I will plead the fifth. I'm product ambidextrous. I use every product. Top 3 tabs. Besides my email and calendar, I would say LinkedIn is usually open. I'm always networking or talking to someone that way. Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
And the third maybe it's probably QuickBooks.
That completely defined your digital marketing era and your marketing CFO relationship era together. So yeah, that's real. I mean, everyone needs that. Okay, if you were to kind of have a brand ambassador for Microsoft now, the wildest brand ambassador that you would ever wanted to have for Microsoft.
A brand ambassador for Microsoft.
And it could be a person, it could be an animal, it could be an imaginary thing, but someone you really wanted.
I want Microsoft to bring Clippy back. Clippy was
Yeah,
I think
that was an era. A lot of people watching this wouldn't even know
Clippy
Clippy.
was great. I love Clippy.
Yeah. Did you work on Clippy?
No. Clippy was before my time, but I
Much earlier before your time.
yeah. But I love Clippy.
Maybe the next brand campaign.
Yeah,
Is that?
you never know.
Last one, your favorite brand.
My favorite brand. I would say
Right.
this out, but my favorite brand. Oh, that's so hard. There's so many. I'm gonna go with. Oh, gosh, favorite brand. It's so hard to choose one.
You gotta choose one.
Recently, it's probably been Rothy's, and I'm wearing them because they're very comfortable shoes. So I do like Rothy's a lot.
Rothy's a lot.
Yeah,
Nice. Right. I just love the fact you actually chose something that you really use.
I do.
A lot of people choose like, you know what, Apple and Nike, and I'm like, okay, fine,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
they're good brands, of course.
Well, that's what I was thinking because those brands are kind of obvious, and and not that I don't love them, but
It's just that
But
you love them because they've been like,
practical.
yeah, exactly.
use, but
That's nice.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much for doing this, Tina. This has been so much fun. I hope you had fun.
I did. Thank you for
Love the
the
topic.
invitation.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks.